I've really been trying to challenge myself in my own service, because we may serve God in some way, and we may go to church or do something for God in our life in some way. We may try to serve others in some way. But why do we do what we do? And does it really matter? Or is it just the fact that we get it done that really matters? I was thinking about a passage that Paul wrote over in Galatians 5, verse 13, where Paul's talking about why the old law is insufficient, why we are to follow the new law, that we're to walk by faith and not by law. And he speaks to that in this passage. He says, "For you, brethren, have been called to liberty, only do not use liberty as an opportunity for the flesh, but through love serve one another. For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, that you shall love your neighbor as yourself." Then he goes on to warn us about the lack of love in our service for each other, that we're going to bite and devour one another. Paul's trying to explain why love service is far superior. Now, husbands, let's imagine that our wives, she's went to work and she calls us in the middle of the day. She's sick, she's hurting, she needs us to come get her and take care of her. Now, imagine a man that's stuck in his marriage. Is he going to do it? Probably. But he's thinking, oh man, I guess I have to, because she's going to make my life miserable if I don't go do it. But then think about a husband who loves his wife. Is he going to do it? Absolutely, because he's looking at it as an opportunity to serve her, to express his love for her. Two men doing very similar things, but from two very different points of motivation. Now, we can apply that to our service for God and our worship service. Think about a man who wakes up and says, oh man, it's Sunday. Do I really have to go? I guess I better go, because I don't want to get that call from that preacher. I don't want the elders to ride me. And so he goes and he sits in the pew and he's murmuring through the songs. He's dreading the 30-minute sermon. And he's really not looking forward to talking to anybody. And so maybe he sneaks out the back door before everybody gets back there. And then imagine the person that loves the Lord. And they wake up thinking, yes, it's the Lord's day. And they really look forward to singing the Psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs, and how they're going to encourage others and how they're going to be encouraged. And they're really looking forward to that 30-minute sermon. They just really invest themselves. They open up their Bibles, they're taking notes maybe, and they're really evaluating themselves. And they're really looking forward to having the time to talk to everybody afterwards. So they stick around because they love them. They're their spiritual family. And so two men doing very similar things, but from two very different motivations. So what's the difference? Well, law service is something that you do because you have to. Love service, though, is something that you do, but it's seen as a privilege, as an opportunity. You know, when you love somebody, you're not going to lie to them. You're not going to murder or hate them in your heart. You're not going to steal. You're not going to commit adultery against them. And while law service pushes us to do some of the same kinds of actions, love service pushes us beyond the I have to the I get to, I want to. And so I think that's why when Jesus was asked, what is the greatest commandment of them all? He didn't say, thou shalt not lie, commit adultery, murder, steal. He said, you should love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and you love your neighbor as yourself. That's kind of a shocking answer, isn't it? Because it's not really a commandment at all. It's really an underlying principle that motivates us to do the rest of the commandments. And so the motivation has to be love. Love God, love your neighbor, love your brother and sister in Christ, love the lost, love your enemy, which is one of the hardest ones of them all. And so maybe sometimes we do serve God and we do serve others, but I'm not convinced we always do it out of love simply because we do something. And maybe that's why some of us don't serve at all. And maybe that's why some of us don't serve nearly as much as we should. And so let's work on serving out of love, serving God and serving others.